Harry the Hypocrite gets a kicking. Hello. I'm H.G. Tudor, and Prince Harry has been giving evidence in his court case, which of course has prompted considerable reportage and comment in the newspapers, which provides you with useful insight into what's going on inside his head. Not much, I hear some of you say, but also it gives us insight into the dynamic of the victim of the narcissist and how that impacts upon his behaviour and thinking. Harry starts off with getting something of a kicking by virtue of Alison Pearson's article in The Telegraph. She writes, Prince Harry has a point. The unlawful news gathering by Mirror Group newspapers, MGN, and other tabloids, including hacking the voicemail of murdered Millie Dowler after her disappearance, was disgusting. We already know MGN indulge in that underhand distressing behaviour because they settled phone hacking claims with 44 celebrities, paying out settlements running into tens of millions of pounds. The question now at issue is, did they hack Harry's phone and the phones of those close to him? That's as far as my sympathy extends. What the Duke of Sussex doesn't seem able to grasp is that he is no longer in a superior moral position to anyone who has sold or paid for royal stories. Indeed, selling royal stories is Harry's main source of income. The Duke admitted that he would have used the phrase two-faced shit to describe his late mother's butler, Paul Burrell, and he wanted to stop him selling more Diana secrets. We would quite understand if Prince William used that colloquial term about his younger brother. Harry won't stop flogging family secrets. At least Paul Burrell probably needed the money. The Duke has no such excuse. Well, actually, he does need the money because he has a very expensive wife who sees him as an extension of herself and his money as her money. That she has become accustomed to a certain standard of living, being in a $14 million, 47,000 Flushing toileted mansion, purchasing expensive clothing that doesn't fit her properly, being rushed around in gas-guzzling SUVs and flying in private jets, having all of the expense of security arrangements, all of the PR arrangements, the PR puffery that she has to keep pumping out. All of that costs money. And Harry has to find a way to pay for it. Hence, he does need the money. And that's why he, in part, flogs the family secrets. He does so because he has now been convinced by the manipulative impact of his wife that it's the right thing to do. That any sensibilities about who he might offend, who he might hurt, went out of the window because he has been convinced by her conduct and her manipulations that this is what should be done as part of getting back at the royal family for their treatment of her and him, and also because there's a story that has to be told. Notice Harry didn't go around telling anybody about the family secrets before he met Harry's wife. Indeed, his personality was vastly different. The article continues, for Harry's barrister David Sherborne to say that an article in The People about William and Harry having a different approach to Burrell showed how seeds of discord had been created between the brothers is laughable, frankly. Maybe telling the whole word in your autobiography that your brother pushed you, ripping your shirt and breaking my necklace as you fell onto a dog bowl has contributed to the discord with William. Just a wild guess. The Duke clearly has a high opinion of himself, which it is fair to suggest, is not widely shared. In court, he grandly introduced himself as fifth in line to the throne, born into the British royal family on the 15th of September 1984, to my father King Charles III and my mother Diana, Princess of Wales. I don't know about you, but I no longer think of Harry as royal at all. He gave up the right to that extraordinary privilege when he and megalomania agreed to their interview with Oprah Winfrey, going out when Prince Philip was in hospital, close to death from cancer. That, of course, exhibits Harry's wife's absence of emotional empathy and how Prince Harry's was reduced by the presence and pressure of the manipulative behaviour of his wife. Our beloved late Queen was also unwell, and the worry caused by her grandson's public confession, basically claiming Her Majesty's family was racist, must have been awful. Harry admitted he no longer had a role within the institution, but said that as a member of the royal family and as a soldier upholding important values, he felt a responsibility to expose this criminal activity in the name of public interest. This from the man who, when he was Captain General of the Royal Marines, missed a memorial service to honour victims of an IRA bomb at the Royal Marines base in Deal, Kent in 1989, to attend a Disney premiere with his wife. You might have hoped that South Park's satirical takedown of the Sussexes and their worldwide privacy tour would have penetrated Harry's skull. Clearly not. Pausing there, it won't penetrate his skull because his skull is filled with the fog of his emotional thinking, whereby, rather than see it for what it actually is, pointing out all of their hypocrisies, pointing out all of their contradictions, pointing out all of their ridiculous behaviour, he adopts a similar position to that of his wife, of regarding himself as the victim. She has told him so often that he is the victim, and of course he has that mentality to some extent, but it has been played upon, exploited and exacerbated by Harry's wife, so that rather than look at the worldwide privacy tour and think, do you know something, they've got a few points there, time to tone it down, change my behaviour, he simply thinks, how dare they talk about me and my wife in that way? Rather than actually think about what's being shown, it's simply criticism? Right. Those bastards are at it again. How do we deal with it? Rather than actually considering what the criticism is. He complains that Piers Morgan subjected him and Harry's wife to horrific personal attacks and intimidation. As far as I can recall, Morgan merely said he didn't believe a word that came out of Harry's wife's mouth. A sensible precaution. It is the hypocrisy that continues to astound. Like a pair of sulky teenage rebels, Harry and Harry's wife rail against an institution so hideously hierarchical, hidebound and full of unconscious bias that they call their children Prince and Princess to cash in on it. The 38-year-old prince proclaimed in court he was motivated by wanting to save journalism as a profession. We're all right, thanks, mate. Focus your energy on saving yourself. You're going to need it when the king realises you're a total liability and does what he should have done a while ago and takes away your titles. It is simply not tenable to have this deluded ex-royal going around criticising the United Kingdom. On a national level, our country is judged globally by the state of our press and our government, both of which I believe are at rock bottom. Well, Harry should know all about rock bottom. You couldn't make it up, but then they already have. Accordingly, his hypocrisy gets a kicking, and it's demonstrative of how far he has fallen as a consequence of his involvement with Harry's wife. It also shows the way that his thinking is completely clouded, that he follows her thinking. In part, that is because of the impact of the emotional thinking. And, of course, there's also the fact that whilst occasionally he will have glimpses of sanity, he won't dare speak out against her or to her for fear of the continuance of his devaluing behaviours. The way that she treats him has cowed him into submission. Many people who are victims of narcissists will do anything, even when they know that it's wrong, just to keep the peace. That they fall out with members of their family or don't bother with them anymore because it's easier to do that with them than have yet another tempestuous and vitriolic fight with the narcissist. Harry has been affected by the manipulative behaviours of his wife and his own emotional thinking to cause him to going around criticising the United Kingdom and embarking upon this ridiculous lawsuit. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.